In this episode of Common SENSimilla, we'll be talking to the Vice President, COO, and co-founder of PufCreativ, a Denver, Colorado-based creative marketing agency focused on building brands and deploying digital marketing strategies for cannabis consumer brands and retailers. That's a mouthful. Today's guest will help me grapple with all the agency frustrations we deal with here at CannaPlanners, and there's a good chance this podcast turns into a therapy session. Katie Burrell, welcome to Common SENSimilla. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. I always love a good therapy session. So
we're going to get into it. I was going to do this episode from the couch and be laying down, but I didn't want to put that on you. This is
I'm on a couch.
This is your therapy. Yeah, this is your therapy session. So if you want to lay down, I'll get my notepad and we'll get through this. So your company is based in Denver, but you are working out of the gardeniest of states, New Jersey. You may or may not know this about Common SENSimilla, but we have deep Jersey roots in the podcast in CannaPlanners. So we pass ultimate judgment on our guests from New Jersey by asking one important question, if you'll bear with me. Katie Burrell, is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
So this is a hard question for me.
Oh, no, it's not.
I'm originally from New York.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
So it's Canadian bacon.
Yeah, it's just bacon. But it's funny you bring it up because I'm from New York, grew up there, but I lived in Philadelphia for 6 years. My girlfriend and I just moved to South Jersey, but I grew up from around North Jersey. So a little bit different in roots. We were more like near the mountains, and South Jersey's more near the beach. And my girlfriend and I get in those tiffs all the time about
which is it?
Subs, yeah, all that fun stuff. I don't eat a lot of meat, so it's
more of a cultural question, Katie Burrell, than anything. This is like really how we're going to make sure that you and I are aligned. I think you better answer correctly.
I think I have to say pork roll, just because.
You know what? You've just alienated half of this company, but that's okay. It's okay. It's all the good people.
My girlfriend's in the next room. She'll have my head. She's closer to me. So
take me to those early days in New York City. So I also, cut my teeth in the city, working various marketing jobs in various industries. The music industry was mostly where I spent my time, and I, interned all these places until I was way too old to be an intern. Just trying to get my my feet wet and my hands dirty and try to gain experience. Talk to me about it for you. What did you learn being in New York and being a fresh-faced Katie Burrell right out of college?
Yeah. So I didn't go to college super far from where I grew up. It was about like 15 minutes away. Small Catholic, ironically.
Oh, your parents must have loved that.
Oh yeah, I never went home. I don't know what it was.
Your parents must have hated that.
I have student loan debt for no reason because I didn't want to stay home. So I went to college there. Right out of college, I played soccer there. That's the kind of the reason I went. And then out of college, I got a job working in public relations, downtown New York City. Got on a bus, 2 hours there, 2 hours home, 4 days.
Oh, you commuted in.
Oh yeah. So I'm from Rockland County. I was born in Long Island, from Rockland County, which is, if anyone's familiar with New York, Rockland's across the bridge from New York City. So mileage wise, it's not that far, but when you actually get in the car and try to get there, it takes triple the amount of time. So I would lug into the city and work in PR. It was a experience. It was definitely a learning experience out of anything. I think just personally as an individual and finding myself and what I wanted to do, which it's what led me into the cannabis industry, and also just coming to terms with who I am as a person and how I identify, because I was in a workspace that was very cookie cutter. And I just don't fit with that. And I never have. So my experience in New York was definitely like a very great learning experience. Obviously, like my family's from there, my friends from back home. So my heart's always there. But I think it was a moment in time to really like push me to where I needed to be.
That's interesting. So like the takeaways sound to me less like being at the PR agency. It was less a learning experience professionally. Maybe it was, but I'm sure it was, but like, it sounds like it was more impactful as like a understanding who, an early 20s Katie Burrell is, right?
Right, right.
Or,
Yeah.
or even better yet, like where you belong, like professionally, like the office is not for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And just like, the typical, I didn't know who I was as an individual. And like
Hey, I'm 42. I still don't know who I am. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Like
I'm still figuring it out.
yeah, I'm still figuring it out.
Those boundaries weren't there. I
Sure.
conformed. I was very codependent. I wanted to fit a mold that was not me, like I did not
Why?
want to, why did I?
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I remember being like in a band. I was in a band traveling the country, and a thing that like kind of messed with my head was like projecting myself into my peers, my friends from college, and like being like, oh God, they're getting promotions at their jobs, or they're getting married, or like, oh, they're having kids, or like all these things, and not recognizing that like I'm actually in this space at this point in time. So like I totally is that kind of what you were feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I think just like the conforming, like here's the therapy. I was a very codependent person, still a big part of me, but to a very unhealthy degree. I don't know. I think it's just a mixture of things. My ADHD, my PTSD, just being queer, trying to fit that mold, not really understanding where I fit, like you mentioned. And it was easier to conform to something that was visibly accepted than to, really dig deep and figure
Do the
out.
work.
Yeah, exactly. So it took a while to break out of those chains. Like even when I got out of New York, until this day, I'm still working through that process. But yeah, definitely like a huge learning experience. And that at that age, you think that's like final destination, like that's
Yeah,
it.
of course.
But you don't understand
That's
how much
just the beginning.
like ahead. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's as soon as you figure out, and again, like here I am, I'm 42, I'm still trying to figure out who I am, but like with every year that goes by, with every personal evolution, with every deal I close at work, or person I hire who helps me, change my person, whatever, any kind of evolution, like that's what builds the confidence in me as an entrepreneur and allows me to like kind of breathe and start to feel, I don't want to say I feel comfortable with myself. That would be a crazy statement, but
I don't think anybody does, right?
Yeah, I'm getting there. You know what I mean? I'm getting there because I'm finally like feeling, like I understand the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think just stepping back and like where you fall within the work too, and what you want to stand for, like from not only from a business perspective but also a personal perspective. And that's something that I've been working on for some time, and I'm finally in a place where I feel like I can speak out and talk about it, not because I know it all or I figured it all out, but I'm in a space where I'm not clouded, like we were talking about, by just like other people's passions, or like successes, and start building it from the ground up for myself and for the business, and just making sure we like taking care of ourselves throughout the way, because it's rough out there.
Yeah, totally. It's funny you position it that way too, because and by now, the 25 people who listen to this podcast, my mom included, are probably sick of my Gary V impersonation, but like I keep having that voice inside my head being like, oh, fuck all those other people, like you don't need to pay, like don't worry, just focus on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. And as soon as you're like, oh well, he's it's that idea of like, oh, I see what he's actually saying, which is like, build your brand, build your thing. And like, if you build it, they will come.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. But that's such an impossible, like that is, especially for when you're in your 20s and you're like, that's such an impossible thing to, at least for me, it was like to totally grasp. I felt like a helpless baby until maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For me, it's been wild because I never expected or anticipated being an entrepreneur or owning a business or like
Same.
leading. Like, I mean, you know, I had leadership positions growing up, like on my soccer team. I was definitely very outgoing, creative. But I don't want to say it fell into my lap, because I don't believe things happen that way. I believe that if you, like we've been talking about, we set ourselves up and build ourselves up as a brand, whether it's outwardly or inwardly, I think those things will come naturally and unexpectedly. And it's just being able to like handle them as they come in. Some people can't. And this fell in my lap in that sense. Just like, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction and, you know, putting things out there for return. And I find that it's a useful like way to live, at least
100%. Yeah. Especially as an entrepreneur, like if you're trying, you know, and it depends on your level of what you're trying to achieve with your business. Like manifestation is for sure real, but it's the result of it's the fruits of hard work. Right. And also the universe provides, but only if you're working hard, right? Doors close and open, but only if you're looking and doing stuff and looking for those things. But like, and to your point about like, this thing fell in my lap. I'm sure that's maybe how you look at it, but I bet you positioned yourself and all of a sudden the universe is like, here you are, Katie Burrell. Like, this is
okay. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? Like, I totally relate to that. Same. I never thought I'd be here. I never thought I'd start a company. I'd never thought I'd start this, like at the very least, when is it going to be this company? You know what I mean? This is so far from anything I ever imagined my trajectory to be, right? But I was but you're paying attention. And if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, or you are, and you're trying to like start the business or a business, you're paying attention to these things. Like you got to, or else you're just gonna fail. You're not gonna notice that door opened there and there's like mad money behind it. You know, there's a lot of success behind that door, or whatever your goals are, you know.
Yeah, I remember saying,
interesting to hear you say that.
When the opportunity fell in my lap, when it was presented to me after, just for context, when I was working in PR, one day it was just like, what makes me happy? Like, what do I look forward to coming home every day? To be completely transparent, I was in a really bad mental state. I'd come home, grab a 6-pack, grab 2 blunt wrap, like Dutches, roll myself 2 blunts, drink the beer, go to sleep, wake up, get on the bus, go to work. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good for my family to see that, for me to go through that. I wasn't making any money. I was getting an experience, but when I was at work, I was expected to wear heels, wear a dress, curl my hair, play the part. And it just wasn't me, clearly.
Will you send us a picture of you then so I can splice it in? I want to splice the perm hair. Of course. I have no doubt. I want to juxtapose the Katie you are with the Katie you felt like you were forced to be. But like, that's totally like, I feel you. And like, this should be a life lesson for humans, not just entrepreneurs, but like that understanding of, and that's a question I asked myself. It wasn't like what makes me happy, because who the fuck knows what that is. But like weed. Okay. Well, my question was, it wasn't what makes me happy. It was similar, but like the question I posed to myself, I said, what is the life we want to live? What kind of world do we want to live in? And is it one where I have to wear heels and perm my fucking hair and like wear a dress? Like, ew. Or like, is it one where like I feel like I gotta drink a 6-pack and smoke 2 blunts to the dome just to like, you know, like what world do I want to live in? Right? Because ultimately it was up to you. You could have kept those heels on. You know,
I'd be right now, but
and most people, that's what most people do. 99.9% of people keep the heels on, and you know, keep that commute, and because they're not asking themselves, it's their survivalist mentality, which is that's a base human instinct, but it's like they're not thinking about themselves. What makes me happy? What world do I want to live in?
It's like, how do I make other people happy to be successful? And that's not how it works. It's how do I put myself in a position in life where I can make myself successful, and bring people along with me who like put in
Of course.
that work as well. And I just literally, I said to myself one morning, like, I come home and the first thing I want to do is smoke weed. What has like gotten me through school, like having undiagnosed ADHD, going through trauma? Weed. And I didn't really understand why. And back then responsibilities weren't a thing. So like, it wasn't really making me paranoid or affecting my mental health in that sense. So that's why I got into the industry. I left my job. I got an internship in the industry under my now business partner. And then I got a web dev job in my hometown because I had to come home anyway, because my parents were moving to the Carolinas. My sister was moving to Colorado. Second day I got fired from the web dev job. I just had the internship in the cannabis industry. I think I had 2 at that point. And like I said, just by the grace of, I just guess like hard work and wanting to change my life. John and Seamus, my 2 business partners, kind of were like, "Do you just want to start a business?" All
right, let's talk about this.
I'm going.
No, that's okay. This is okay. This is
Here, I'm getting comfy now.
That's okay. Sit back.
Therapy time.
Kick those heels off, girl. Let's like get into it. Okay. Okay. So like, this is the part that this is like this, and you positioned as if this thing like fell in your lap, and like, that's cute and everything, but that ain't true. You're the co-founder of a company. Like I know. There's more to it than that.
Quotation marks.
Totally. It's a nice spin to it, but let's take some credit. And I want to know about this getting fired, and because I relate to all of this, and being like, there was a time where I had just started CannaPlanners, like kind of, and I got fired from my 9 to 5, and it was like, oh shit.
Now I really gotta do it.
Right. And like, it had been like kind of a hobby sort of, it was just a side, it wasn't even a side hustle. It was like, I think this is a thing, like, but who knows? Yeah. Right. And then all of a sudden it had to be the thing. So it was the combination for me of like survivalism and like, okay, I guess I have to like survive. And while I'm at it, what world do I want to live in?
Right.
So take me to that day where you're like, I got this job, and then now you're going to get fired. But your business partners are empathetic to the cause. Talk to me about those couple of days. Like, I want to know about the highs, the lows, like, because that's the interesting stuff too. I hope the takeaways from this, these conversations is that like, hey, like, most of us are dummies who just like work really hard.
Right.
I'm obviously being flippant, but like, we're ambitious people who like, there was no chance we were going to stop. Like, even if we got fired, even if like, whatever. So I'm interested in that. Take me to like the day you got fired.
Oh yeah. So
let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's face this trauma head on.
Let's do it. My parents were selling the house, and they were moving to the Carolinas, like I mentioned. I was living in Rockland County at that point, and I had left the PR job for a web dev job in my hometown, which was like right down the street, and didn't lie on my resume. It was very transparent. I'm not a web designer. I, was Tumblr famous back in the day and could make like a good layout, and like I, have used WordPress before, but I'm not like a coder. Sure. And the first day was uncomfortable. There was no training. And the second day, I just got called. Well, I'm sorry, I'll bring it back. I was on Slack back in the day. I had no idea what Slack was then. This guy's messaging me, asking me to like code these sites. And I'm like, dude, hold on. Like, I have no idea.
What now?
I'm trying to Google stuff. Yeah. I wish I had like
code. How is that? CODE?
Yeah. And I was interested in learning how to do it for sure, but like wasn't handed the tools. Second day, and it was for lawyers' websites. It was for lawyers and law firms. Yeah. I go from like a very conservative PR company to that, and it's just not the right decisions. But I did have 2 cannabis internships at that point. But that was my only form of income. Second day, come in, he brings me to the office. We need to talk, hands me a check for a week of work, and said, this isn't working out. And that was it. And it was the beginning of the day. So I left, got home. I was crying. it was not that I was upset about losing the job. I didn't care, but it was more so like my parents were leaving. This is like my hometown. My sister's leaving. I don't have a job.
When it rains, it pours.
Right, exactly. And I'm proud of myself for that point in time, because I kind of, like you mentioned, like I'm just not going to stop. I don't have time to stop. And I think it's also like the ADHD mindset and just like wanting, like the motivation is there, but the execution was off. And from there, I picked up some part-time jobs to make money, but I really started focusing on my internships with the cannabis companies. I just felt welcomed. I didn't feel like I was put in a box. It was a brand new industry. This was 6-7 years ago. There was a lot of opportunity there. I had no experience, straight out of college, like I think a year out. And yeah, from there, I was promised a marketing position, and then ended up them telling me I wasn't getting paid. I was going to be working under my business partner, John, at the time, who was offered the same position, but actually got it. He wasn't getting paid enough. I was promised pay, never was paid. And he had
Wait, this was a cannabis marketing agency that you were at, that you met?
Manufacturing company, actually. Got it. Out of California.
Got it. Okay.
And then aside from that, I was actually working for a cannabis wedding company too, doing some sales calls and stuff.
So you found so aside from just 2 Dutches a day, 2 blunts to the dome a day, like cannabis kind of being your medicine, which, same. What drew you to it?
Originally?
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, when it started happening, again,
I don't mean using cannabis. I mean, like, and we can talk about that too, but what I'm saying is, like, beyond your personal experience with it, like, because your LinkedIn profile reads like graduated college, like had an internship for like a year and a half, co-founder PufCreativ. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah.
So it's like, how did you know that there was this opportunity here? How did you know to even, like, why did you even want to go work for those companies?
I wanted to work in an industry that I felt understood me. Not even an industry, because, like, honestly, it wasn't really a thing back then, right? It was just like a bunch of businesses out of California and all the new states, Colorado. So for me, it was more like, what have I leaned on all of my life since I was 16 years old? Not even leaned on, but what has made me feel good that's never changed? And that was always the answer, because I really struggled with mental health growing up. I really struggled with my diagnosis is now, undiagnosis is then. So I think that's what drew me. And I come from a family of creatives, and I knew I didn't want to work a 9-to-5 cookie cutter job. I didn't know I didn't want to work for anybody else but myself. But
well, let me ask you that, because you'd been through the experience where your employer was like, hey, put on some fucking heels and, look this way and act this way, which, I wouldn't say that specifically. I think that there's, company culture that's, a professional company culture is fine, whatever. But, like, how did you, like, at what point were you aware that, okay, I'm not a 9-to-5er? And then how did you do the math to be like, okay, this is up to me now?
Right. I think it was that moment. That was when I was working in the PR, and we had like a headshot day. I got an email from my
student photo day.
Yeah. And she's like, dressed to impress. And here I am, like, I'm out. Like, I was out as queer, but I wasn't comfortable yet.
Sure.
And I, came in the night before, and again, 6-pack of beer, 2 blunts, waking up at 5:30, 6 in the morning, throwing on like a dress, and like, I have hair down to here, but I don't do anything with it. It's just like, and that's me getting dressed up back then.
Sure.
And I came into work one day, and my boss at the time, gave me the look, and she was like, you didn't do anything like, oh, you didn't like do anything with your hair. And I'm like, I straightened it. Mind your business.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's what did you work for my mom? Oh, you're gonna wear that today?
Right. And I had flats on. I was supposed to wear heels, and I hate freaking
Did you
flats.
comb your hair with a banana, William?
Maybe. Yeah, so she took me to the bathroom and curled my hair for me.
Shut up.
I still had that. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my God.
And that day I was like, oh no.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry for you.
It's okay. I mean,
that is weird.
Yeah. And she also tried hooking me.
Was she trying to be sweet?
Yes and no. I think it's, like in that PR world, in that industry that I was in, I was like real estate, like and this was like when like the elections were like wild and just things were uncomfortable.
Right.
Also after the Pulse shootings happened. So I was like very on edge. She even tried setting me up with her fiance's like employee, and I didn't have the heart to say like, it's not my playing field. So granted, like I definitely put myself in some positions to have that happen.
Goodness.
But I don't think people were aware to like even like inquire, ask about it back then too.
Sure.
I was like, I should curl my hair, and they didn't even do anything with the freaking picture. They didn't even put on the site. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So back to that math of okay, I don't want some crazy lady curling my fucking hair ever again. Like I gotta take this into my own hands.
Yeah. So that's when I like literally started just looking up cannabis jobs on the internet, and just like found a couple, applied to them, and I guess the rest is history with that. I ended up meeting my partners, and I remember I came out of my room one day when I wanted to get into the industry, and I got offered, the positioning, and like even with Puff, when John asked if I wanted to start that, my mom always talks about it, but I came out and I said like, give me 3 months. That's it. Give me 3 months. And if like, this isn't it, then like, all right, like I surrender kind of thing. And gave it 3 months, and it just like kept going. So here I am.
That's awesome. So let's get into it then. So take me to those first couple days, weeks, those first 3 months at PufCreativ. Like, is there anything that sticks out as like, you came back out and you're like, Mom, I think, at month 1, we were like, I think this is it. Month 2, you're like, I think this is it. And month 3, it was like, this is it.
I think it was, so I was doing like hostessing positions to make money, because we weren't making any, right? We had some funds to help us start up, but we were, like biting the bullet, not making much. It's kind of like campaign by campaign, like any clients we had coming in, we'd take, our percentage. So I think after the 3 months, it wasn't more so like, oh, this is it. Like, I'm gonna take this company 6 years down the line, and I see that happening. It was more like, this is really fucking cool. I'm really happy. And I'm saving money, because at that point I was saving money to move to Philadelphia when my family, moved to Denver and the Carolinas. So as long as I said to myself and my family, even after those 3 months, because I was still like home, was to like, as long as I'm saving to get out of here and start my life, I'm just gonna keep at it. And it was hard, like it's still hard owning a business, having employees, like benefits, money, taxes. They don't really prepare you for that. And I don't think any of us as partners were prepared for that.
Well, there has definitely been, and maybe you can relate, because, you and I and our companies are very parallel in a lot of ways. We started around the same time. We have about the same sort of head count. We work with a lot of the same people. So like, this is why I'm psyched to talk to you. And the thing that's like, that's I've been thinking about, especially in like the last couple of weeks, like this has just dawned upon me recently, was founder and CEO, co-founder and COO. Those are not the same things. like being a founder and being a COO or a CEO, that ain't even the same game, dude. Like, a founder is like a crazy person. A founder is like a person on a soapbox being like, I got an idea, listen to me, like that's that person. And like, that's the quality of a founder. But a CEO, like that's taxes and headcount and, potentially having a heart attack over the stress of payroll, like all of those things. I'm curious, like, as you're growing and, founder becomes less and less important to your professional identity at PufCreativ, and like COO becomes that's your day to day. Like founder is just a thing, and in my email signature, it means absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? It has no bearing on my job.
Right.
you know what I mean?
It's actually like the opposite. No, but I think for the first maybe 2.5 years, 3 years, I was very focused on the founder part and just wearing a bunch of hats. Like
selling the dream.
COO was just like, there. Like up until this point, I was managing social media, as I was doing design work, I was doing the videos, doing the animation, also helping run the company, making business decisions, operations, going to events, having partners, like all of that. And I was the youngest I still am the youngest out of all the partners. And
I've achieved time travel, and now I'm the oldest.
Exactly. I don't look like it. I look like I'm 18 still, but that has its benefits. But Seamus and John, my two partners, were such great mentors through this whole process. We always joke, John and I are very similar in the ADHD kind of like all over the place ordeal. Yeah. And Seamus definitely grounds us and brings us down. And we work well together in that sense. And as we're growing as a company, like you mentioned, like we're stepping more into those executive roles. Yeah. And I'm finally, finding my niche with like strategy and campaigns and, helping our employees get to where they want to be, and also building myself as my own brand too. And I'm honestly like stoked to finally be here, because not that the founder stuff isn't in the way, because literally right before this, we had a 2-hour meeting about everything, project management, money, all that stuff. So it's definitely a juggle. There's things that I want to do that I can't, unfortunately. Yeah. There's things that I love to do that I can't, just because I got to do the higher level stuff, because that's what's important to keep this company running. That's
part of the bittersweet part of like the founder executive level, whatever it is. It's like at some point, like, there's that sad thing. I don't know who said it, but that sad thing. But there's, the last time, the next time you pick up your child might be the last time, like that thing. And like, I feel that all the time as I like become less and less connected with, for me, it's like clients, and like, I'll be a fly on the wall for presentations and stuff like that, but like I'm not involved in that the way I used to be, and like that sucks. But it's like part of the gig, right?
Yeah, I noticed like I was less involved in the like the leads, the proposals, the sales, those conversations to start. And John, my business partner, has always been someone who's been awesome and great at that. And then like in my sense with like the creation and strategy and that stuff, it's hard to let go too. And
totally
allow people to step into those roles and help out, so we can focus on the bigger picture. So that's definitely been a struggle as an entrepreneur. Yeah. And stopping yourself from micromanaging and like trying to fix everything too, like, is something that I've, struggled with. But, I think back to when we started the company, I use Adobe now, but back in the day, nothing against Canva or using it, but I was on there, and that's how I learned. Like, we all start somewhere. And just like allowing people to be able to start, because, you don't want anybody to like stick in limbo just because you're afraid to, allow your business to grow, essentially.
Talk to me about co-founders, because I've talked to it with any guest of mine on this show that has co-founders, and I don't. I am the founder. I have partners and things like that, but it was basically just me in the early days, you know.
Mhm.
So talk to me about that. That relationship's tricky. How do you wade through it? Like, there's personalities, and of course, like at this point in the trajectory of PufCreativ, like at this point in the trajectory of CannaPlanners, like things are still emotional, right? Like I still care so fucking much that it's hard to it's sometimes hard to reconcile with it. How do you deal with, how does that relationship work with you guys? How do you guys communicate? What are some things that, like, red flags, green flags that you think maybe people listening should pay attention to when figuring out their co-founder kind of structure?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. We it's complicated, of course. But we like, by the fate of the universe, I don't know, it just, you know, we found each other, pun intended. And I think we work really well together. I think there's a really good balance. We did take on one of our employees, is now a partner, Ben, and he's been a great asset to, you know, because it was just the three of us for the past like 6 years, you know, or 5+ years, and then brought Ben in to become a partner to help with some of those higher level decisions. And it's nice to have that adjustment and outlook from, you know, a different person. And prior to that, I think we worked really well together. Seamus is our voice of reason. He grounds and brings me and John back. I think John and I are very similar in our sense of getting overly excited, and not that that's a bad thing, but we need someone to ground us. So I think when looking, if you're seeking founders or you have founders or co-founders and you're not sure of the dynamic or you know, how to go about it, I think just having a good balance is super important, just to like level each other out, because we're human. Like we have our own lives and situations we deal with that affect us daily. I try to be as transparent as I can with my partners and co-founders on just like how I'm doing mentally and like what's going on in my life and like my capabilities. And we do that with our employees too, because we're not going to have good work if we're not all on not the same page, but at least the same book, you know. Like
of course.
we're working with each other to make sure that we can, you know, level each other out and just bring different ideas back to reality. We've had to, you know, we've got excited about things and then maybe spoken too soon to like employees and made some promises that maybe we shouldn't have. Not anything like crazy, but you know,
that's the founder in you. Like that's the passionate founder in you. That's like, I'm so psyched about this thing. I can't wait to share it. Like,
right. And
you
then
know,
you don't want to disappoint yourself or people on your team. Right? But I think just the knowledge and knowing like, okay, we got excited, it didn't work out, onward. Right. There's a time, and I'm sure you experience it, because I feel like it's just like that time of the year during the holidays, budgeting is getting cut. Clients are, you know, asking for some analytics on marketing campaigns and cross-checking everything. And it gets a little bit crazy during the winter. Things are settling down now, but businesses are making changes and decisions and budget cuts, and getting through that storm together and just reminding each other, you know, this happens every year. We'll be okay, but we just have to make adjustments like as we move forward in order to not maybe completely get rid of the issue, but at least when it comes about, we're prepared for it. Just like getting more prepared, and it's always going to change. Like there's things that we're going to have to learn and adjust as a business, no matter what. So just like accepting that as well. Like
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so
you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely. I think, you know, just to your point earlier, like, especially when it relates to the co-founders, your co-founders, and kind of the journey you've come come through, or the journey you've been on of trying to understand identity and like who you are as a human, and then how you apply that to like professional Katie, co-founder Katie, COO Katie. Like all these people are ultimately the same person, but understanding strengths, weaknesses, and like being able to talk about them. Like, God, that sounds so easy, but it's such a friggin' hard thing, man.
Yeah, well, that's
It's
why
so hard.
I have a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, and I actually just hired like a social media mentor to help me with my personal brand, because I want to put things out there that are true to myself. It could change over time for sure.
Can you talk about your personal brand a little more? So like,
Mhm.
and this, this is kind of this is why I have a podcast, right? It's about, for me, it's like, how do I expand my personal brand so that I can kind of cross-pollinate with what CannaPlanners is doing, or, network differently, or,
Yeah.
is that kind of what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
hoping to do?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not not in a sense where I'm like, this is my brand, I'm going to make money off of myself, but more so, this is my brand, this is what I stand for. I'm in an industry that's evolving, changing, it's new, and I want to have like an impact on it that sits well with not only like people who pay attention, but also myself. And I want to
Yeah.
be proud of it. So just like toning in on what I share on my personal social medias in relation to my personal life, and also in relationship like with my business, and being able to talk to you about things like this, share my experiences, help other people in and outside the industry. It's just important to me. And I think in the past, I haven't looked at social media that way, or just like myself in general. And I've had a hard time with confidence in that sense.
Totally.
So just like getting through that, having confidence to share things and not feel like I'm doing it for show or for money, but just doing it because I want to connect, and network and learn about
And
people.
by the way, guess what happens when you're authentic?
Right.
Like,
You make those connections.
you make those connections and you make money. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
that's
Money
the
comes with
beautiful,
it, right?
yeah, that's the beautiful thing about authenticity, is like people gravitate towards it, because people are generally authentic, especially when they're, trying to figure out how to position themselves in their own lives, and like what role where do I fit in this emerging industry, or like how do I be my most self you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
It's really weird being a human sometimes.
It is. It's fun though. I minored in psych, so I'm like, sometimes I'm on the call with my therapist and I'm trying to like analyze her. Then it's just like she's like, hold on. You're paying me here.
This is your session.
Yeah.
This is your session. Get back on your fancy orange couch. I think we'd be fools if we didn't lend some additional value to people listening to this call. We're marketers in this industry. We do a lot of similar things. We do a lot of different things too. One thing that we don't do is anything on social media, and it's just because cannabis, it's just it seemed like a big problem and not one we wanted to figure out. I'm curious your experience with it, how you've sort of navigated social media and cannabis, and if there's any kind of easy suggestions people listening can do to kind of capitalize, or at least improve the way that they're engaging with their social audience. I know that was a mouthful.
No, it's good mouthful.
Good 30 questions, Will.
No, I love it. I've been geeking out over this, so I'm happy to talk about it. It's definitely been a wild ride. We've been doing it since we started, and I've been talking a lot about this new process that we're implementing in this new year, just to help with more intentional social media. I think a lot of people within the industry and outside the industry have some swayed outlooks on what social media is, because like with leads that come in asking for social media, their first thought goes to social media management. There are so
post pictures for us every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Create captions. Why aren't we getting X amount of followers? Why aren't insights going up? And it's like, well, what do you expect? I mean, this is an oversaturated like market. You need to have it, just like you need to have a website, or you need to have this. Sometimes you're not going to see the ROI, but it's important.
Right.
And we were running into that issue a lot with clients, not with clients, just like with the industry in general. And then on top of that, the algorithms, the takedowns, the shadow bans, the flags, all of that nonsense obviously has made it extremely difficult. And when we think of social media, especially in this industry, we think of Instagram and Facebook. But there's more. There's other ones that we can utilize in the space. So I definitely recommend just like utilizing other platforms as well, and finding what's best fit for your brand. Something that I am geeking over currently and will continue to geek over is social listening. And that's something that we're starting to implement and recommend. So social listening is it's so cool. It's so hard to explain, but it's basically
get geeky.
Yeah,
let's do it.
So you can do these search queries, right? It can be hashtags, topic, interest, a social media account, like a celebrity, competitor, your own brand. And we can do these in-depth searches that will gather all the information from social media platforms and news sources through our software. And it will aggregate, depending on like the amount of time we do, all the mentions that fall within that search query. So for example, if let's say it was just like a broad search query for cannabis industry, and maybe or more specifically, let's just say cannabis industry in New Jersey, to be more specific. And then that search would bring up how many people are talking about New Jersey cannabis industry, who, where, what are they talking about? Where is it shared? What's the sentiment, the emotion behind it? And then we can get alerts when these peaks happen. So if like a conversation is going on social media that has to do with this, we can jump in. It's also useful for like insights as far as like the market you're in. Again, your competitors, what they're talking about, what they're doing, what people are saying about them. For brands who, like let's say a dispensary or a product, and they're well known and people are talking about them. It's like audience control in that way to see what people are saying about your products. For example, we have a dispensary client who's utilizing it, and people talk about them on Reddit all the time. And they talk about their deals, they talk about what strains they like, and we can take that information and we can hand it to our client so they can make informed decisions. And the platform also tells us the software tells us what platforms are talking about it the most. So like we were saying, Twitter is definitely a place where people are talking. The software doesn't really dive too far into LinkedIn, unfortunately.
Into what?
LinkedIn, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of like it's a social media platform that has social listening software in it. So we can schedule, we can track campaigns, all that fun stuff. But social listening is something that I love to talk about. And I think it's important because, like I said, people don't understand that social media marketing, there's like many different hats that fall under that. Designers, animators, schedulers, managers, social media listen experts, campaign strategists. It goes far and beyond. And I think that social listening brings us back to like what social media was made to do in the first place. Be social. Stop focusing on the followers, stop focusing on the likes, stop focusing so much on the content and focus more on the conversations you're having with people in the industry, with your consumers, watching your competitors, seeing what they're doing wrong and right, and making informed decisions to create intentional campaigns and intentional content. Because we were throwing shit on the wall and it was not sticking. So making this switch, it adds like a level of reassurance, not only for our clients, but for us, that we can just really put out intentional good stuff rather than just like dishing it all out.
And I would imagine that one of the, results of paying attention and using social listening is that your engagement goes up, that your likes go up, and that your content gets,
Yeah.
Interesting.
With patience and time, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's insightful too. Like you really can get educated and see what's going on. And like, I've learned things from it that I didn't know before. And that's how I found social listening, was from having conversations, and I started following people who are talking about these types of processes. And I think it's really important for the cannabis industry, because so many different states, so many different conversations to be had about all different topics in this industry.
Yeah.
Because so definitely
super
useful.
Interesting. You mentioned LinkedIn as not kind of being part of this, but LinkedIn is actually turning out to be pretty friendly to the cannabis industry.
Oh yeah. So they have like, we can schedule out and we can get analytics on there for like business pages, not personal pages, for this platform or the software. And this is, we have conversations with them all the time, and their help desk, and we put in recommendations all the time on how it could be better. But at the end of the day, it's really up to Meta or LinkedIn and what capabilities can allow third-party applications to have. And they did just add LinkedIn for social listening, but comparably to the brand's business page, that we can hook up to it, and just like keeping an eye on what they're posting per se.
And that's just what, privacy, like a result of privacy settings or something?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might change over time. I'm sure there's different softwares that maybe like have more capabilities. But the one we're using, Brandwatch is the name of the brand. They have influencer database, they have CRMs for PR, they have social listening, kind of the whole suite. So
That's
hopefully
sweet.
it gets to a point where we can dive more into other social media channels. But the most information comes from Reddit and Twitter.
Wow.
A lot of people are talking on there. Yeah. Industry
I forget
leaders.
about Reddit as like being that thing. I still go there for, stupid GIFs and cute animal pictures or whatever.
I wouldn't recommend like creating a business account, but watching what people are saying. Definitely.
Interesting. Super cool. Social listening.
Yeah. Social
I
listening.
love it. I appreciate that. That's super helpful. That's very helpful.
There's going to be a new blog about it that we're going to release soon. We have the new process. So I released a blog that just kind of goes down like what we recommend as steps. And then soon enough, there'll be one about more about social listening. So
super cool. Super cool. Katie Burrell, what do you hope your legacy in this industry is? Do you even think about that?
I think so. More recently, I think just creating a safe place that's equity and equality driven, and really getting down to the roots and making sure that how I speak about the plant itself, I always speak the truth, and I always speak my truth too. And then also just like within the industry, just like lifting each other up. I hate to see anybody pushing each other down. I just don't think it's necessary to do that. There's been a lot of hardships in many different minority groups, many different legacy groups. Like, people love this plant and people are very passionate about it. And not only that, people are passionate about what they do in the industry. So just keeping myself in a position where I'm always staying true to me and who I am and what I share, and not conform, like we talked about in the beginning, to
I don't even own heels anymore.
Yeah. My girlfriend owns enough for both of us.
Following up on that question, what are you doing at PufCreativ that you feel is just bigger than yourself? And maybe it's the social listening thing, but I'm like, and maybe that's kind of the same question as your legacy, but so this is the founder in me, right? Where I'm able to like kind of disassociate like Doctor Strange, you know what I mean? Like I'm projecting, my spirit behind me and looking out at all this stuff and
Right.
recognizing like
Yeah.
just
No,
where it's all going, and I imagine that you feel that same way where you're like, oh my God, like we're doing a million projects right now. And like, holy shit, we launched a billion more websites than we did, whatever. Like, what I'm saying? Like,
all that stuff.
what's bigger than yourself there?
Mhm. All that stuff's like, the services we do, love it. It's great. It's beautiful. I love the work that everybody does. But at the end of the day, we're a community focused agency.
Yeah.
We giving back. Anybody we work with, we want to make sure that that's, if it's on their plan now, it's in their plan later. And that's why we started Cannabis Creative Movement with our PR partners, Ninth Block, which is an initiative to just share educational guidebooks with the community and just give back where we can. So with those guidebooks, we always do a call to action to give back and donate to the cause that we're talking about in the guidebook. So that's our passion project. That's something that I think is and can be bigger than myself. And I'm really proud of it. And I think, we have such a beautiful team of people who just like care. And that's
awesome.
Yeah.
I think that giving thing, because I think about this all the time, if you're not thinking about, as a cannabis entrepreneur specifically, if you're not thinking about philanthropy and repairing the damage that's been done, which is an impossible task. It's a Sisyphean thing. It can't be done. But I feel, and it sounds like you do too, that like it has to be part of the mission to anybody operating here, or else you're dishonoring the shit out of all those people who came before us, who are maybe still in jail, who like, whatever,
Right. There's so much history and like roots. And
it's heavy.
It blows my mind when people don't want to give back or like don't even want to like hear about it. Cannabis Doing Good, Cannabis Impact Fund, we're also co-founders of, and they're doing amazing things. I suggest anybody listening to this look into
We'll
that.
link that in the description below for sure.
And obviously, like the other, there's a bunch. Just like one person can't change everything, but we can at least do our due diligence and give back and make sure that we're always putting that, at the forefront of our focus, next to our creativity and just like having fun with it and, doing cool things in the industry and working together with like similar agencies. We're all about that. There's enough weed at the table for everybody to smoke.
Yeah, totally. I'm really happy we're having this conversation because I genuinely feel that way in my heart of hearts. And for all the reasons you just said, like, all shit, whatever, ships in the high tides and all that bullshit, there's so much work, like all of that I totally feel, but also the excitement. And this is really what I meant about like us having a therapy session. It's like the excitement of like a peer, because we're explorers. And I don't mean to sound arrogant. I mean, anybody in this industry is an explorer. We're treading new ground, right? And that I have like some, nerdy former heel wearing peer who gets it and like understands like perfectly. It's like, it makes me so happy. Yeah, it makes me so happy. It really does. Are we allowed to talk about Pinelands Apothecary at all?
That's a good question. I believe so. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. What the hell is Pinelands Apothecary?
It's in the works. That is.
We can whatever you're comfortable teasing, and if you want me to edit this out, I will. But like,
Pinelands is our retail dispensary project. It's in hopefully in South Jersey. We have a location. We're just waiting on our license from or application acceptance from the state of New Jersey. So it takes forever. And we've been like, we talk about it a little bit, but we're trying not to get too excited.
Well, let me put it this way. So like, maybe you can relate to this, but for sure we did this. And I think that 100% of every creative agency that ever existed has done this, wherein when you start your agency, you make up a bunch of companies. You bullshit a portfolio, you make up a couple brands and mock it onto some things. And there you go. You're actually doing it. You're creating a real company. Like you're branding. You're doing it for real. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. One of the job we were laughing about that. One of them on there was our we created like a blanket company for Puff for like non-cannabis clients. But yes, Pinelands is something that is in the works. It's real.
It's awesome.
I'm sweating over here. It's taking some time, but we're working towards it. We have some partners and we've just been working through, raising funds and getting our licenses approved. And if it happens, I will be the marketing director there, partner. I live 20 minutes from there now. So that's another reason we moved to Jersey, to be closer to my girlfriend's family and also hopefully Pinelands once it opens.
Yeah, you're going to be bud tending, you're going to
everything.
steer the whole thing. It's super exciting. I'm really psyched for you. I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time. I have one kind of last pretty broad question for you, which is what are you excited about for PufCreativ this year? What are you excited about for Katie Burrell this year? What is like, I mean, social listening sounds like maybe that's it, but what are you excited about this year?
Yeah. Social listening is definitely something, but I think just like the overall growth of our business, steps that we're internally taking to do better for our business as a whole and for our employees. And then, from a personal level, finally I'm in a home. I'm out of Philadelphia. Love
no more
it.
Moving every year. Come on.
Yeah, no more moving. We have a beautiful home. We're going to set up a studio where I am right now. And just kind of strapping down for a little bit, doing a little adult stuff, getting ourselves sorted out in that sense, me and my girlfriend with our careers and settling in. And from there, I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully Pinelands. And I'm just excited with Puff just to keep the train moving and just grow and make impact for good. And
I love it.
Meet people like you and CannaPlanners. I hope we can, collaborate on some stuff moving forward. And
well, you're going to take all our social accounts.
Weird. We're not doing social media anymore.
Damn it. Katie Burrell, you've been an absolute pleasure to speak with. You are very charming, and I'm glad we made this work. You've taken us from the Jersey Shores to the Rocky Mountain Highs. PufCreativ is an agency that we respect very, very widely in the halls here at CannaPlanners. And we're very lucky to count you guys as such talented and ambitious peers. And I wish you guys the best of luck. To tell our guests where they can learn more about you and PufCreativ and all the stuff you got going on.
Oh, yeah. So you can visit www.pufcreativ.com, www.cannabiscreativemovement.com as well. You can find some other links on those sites from our past guides, services, more about me and the company. And you can also shoot me a DM on LinkedIn if you want to chat more and learn more. And thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to connect and that you reached out. Would love to chat further outside of this and see how we can collab together.
Hell yeah, we will for sure. Katie Burrell, co-founder and COO of PufCreativ, and like doing a million other things. We appreciate your time here. I've been your host, Will Reed. Please like, subscribe on YouTube, do all the things that I want you to do. And we'll see you on the next episode of Common SENSimilla. Peace out, Cub Scout.